Hello, dear students. Good morning and welcome to the session. This is the lecture session for the first topic of our PTR 2131, or the topic we discussed today is the operations in a marine environment. But But before that, we would actually learn a little bit background information on the history of the marine environment operations, and then we'll actually start. So, I believe you already have the PDF, the PDF of these lecture slides, and you go through that already. But if you have gone through the lecture slides, so it would be very helpful for you. Let's start. So the history of operations in the marine environment. So the first North American's oil boom actually started in 1858. Okay, and interestingly, it started in Ontario. It's in Black Spring area, Ontario. Okay, so it's been named as oil spring. So, and then at 1859, Colonel Edwin Drake, he drilled the first oil in Titsville, Pennsylvania, which is not very far from Ontario. Okay, and he produced 300 to 400 gallons. And the drilling and distillation of crude oil become more predominant in 1850s. But the real boom actually started the late 19th century when we have the availability of machines, and also the Arabs discovered the oil. So does the Russia. So the history of offshore is at 1890s, the first offshore on the Grand Lake at St. Mary's, Ohio. So you can see the pillar, and the offshore was not really offshore like totally at the deep of the ocean. It was just along the coastline of the lakes. Okay, so that is the first offshore, first over water oil well. Okay, so this is the happened like that. And later on, as the technology evolved, and on the 1938, the Superior Pure, the state number one, freestanding wooden deck station. Okay, so that is the actually went a mile offshore to the Louisiana, which is a big step at that time. A mile offshore means like it is a real offshore platform. Okay, in 1947, a steel platform was installed at the Gulf of Mexico. The depth was 10 feet. Okay, and in 1961, the first submersible drilling rig in the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, so these are the first. These are like a background history of the operations in marine environment. Now, what is drilling rig, and what are those things? So let's learn. Let's learn a little bit more about that. So this is a picture, a very important picture, of course, to show like the types of offshore installations. Okay, so many of you already have seen these different types of offshore installations, but may or may not know the difference. As you can see, some are like really fixed platforms. Some platforms can move around. You can tow and tug, and some platforms are not, are semi mobiles. Okay, so what are these? Let's learn a little bit more about this thing. So number one and two, the picture, you see here are the conventional fixed platforms. So fixed platform means they have the built-in towers. All right, as you can see, the towers is attached to the ground. Number 3, we call it compliant tower. Is it fixed or not fixed? We'll learn that later. We'll see. Number 4 is a vertically moored tension leg platform. Moored means mooring. That means it's like an anchor. Okay, the anchor is a mooring, is a type of mooring. So it has been anchored. Okay, the tension leg platform. We call this number 4 and 5. Okay, number 6, we call it spar platform. So it's actually a huge gravitational base in here, and that makes it hold steady. So we'll learn about that too. Number 7 and 8 both are semi-submersibles. Okay, why we call it semi-submersibles? Because a portion of it actually go underwater and other portion is afloat. So we call it semi-submersible. And number 9 is the floating production and offloading facility, or we call it FPSO. And number 10, the subsea compilation and tieback, the host facility. So this is more like a processing field rather, processing unit rather than like, exploration or, production unit. Okay. So these are the different types of offshore installations we have. Now let's learn which are the permanently fixed platforms and which are the mobile platforms. Okay, so we have two major different types of the offshore installation. So depending on the whether the oil is for the exploration, the development, or it depends on the water depth and the weather condition, we select the permanent. It would be permanently fixed or mobile floating. I'll give you an example. For instance, if you are an engineer and you have to make a decision, like you have discovered oil in an area, for instance, in middle of Atlantic, a place where the sea is really harsh. We get a harsh environment. Okay, for instance, near the coast of Newfoundland. So, what would be the most sane things to do? Should we actually, what is more logical? Should we use a permanently fixed or a mobile platform? So, if the environment is harsh, for instance, you have lots of ice loading, or the waves and the ocean current is very very high, in that case we should go for the permanently fixed. Okay, why? Because in that case the platform will be more steady. However, if you have seen that the water depth is very high and it's not economically feasible for installing a permanent fix, so in that case we can choose a mobile also. Okay, so that is why we need to decide, like, what types of platform should we use. So it's a kind of like a decision making thing. So let's see. The permanently fixed platforms are the tension leg platform. Here is the interesting thing. Why the tension leg platform is permanently fixed? Because if you go to the then you can see the tension leg platform over here. Where is the tension leg? 4 and 5, right? So these are actually is moored. Okay, and whenever it's done, like the operation is performed, it's done, these moors can be detached for the decommissioning phase. Okay, so tension leg platform, it's a type of fixed platform, or the permanently fixed platform. Steel jacket platform or pier. Okay, gravitational base structure. okay, like the concrete. So that is a type of permanently fixed. Compilant tower, spar. So all these are permanently fixed platforms. So which are the mobile platforms? Drill ships. That are mobile platform. Okay, just looks like very similar to FPSO, but not the same. Remember, the drill ship and the FPSO, they are different, and we'll see the differences. Okay. FPSO, as I said, and what is FPSO? It's a floating production storage offload. That is the FPSO. Semi-submersibles. So these are the semi-submersibles, and these are like the number 7 and 8 are mobile platform. And the Jackup. So these are type of like Jackup or the compilant tower. It looks like fixed platform, but it is actually not. It's a mobile platform. We'll see how actually these things work. So remember, this little chart is very important. Okay, what are the permanently fixed platforms and what are the mobile platforms? Now let's learn about individually. First, we'll actually go to the steel jacket pier platforms. So steel jacket platform, it's a fixed offshore installations. Okay, it's supported by a huge material. It's called steel jacket, as you can see, and the operation is the water depth of 500 feet or like 150 meter. Remember, okay, remember the water depth. Why? Because as you can see, we make a tower, and we can only make the tower in a shallow water like 150 meter. If the water is very deep, in that case we don't use these types of tower. Okay, we cannot, because it would be a huge engineering problem. So when the water depth is nearly like 500 feet or 150 meter, in that case we can use the fixed steel jacket platform. Okay, and it's used for drilling operations, production, upgrading, storage, and offloading. It's the oldest type of offshore rig, as you can see. uh, Gravity-based structure. You can see the gigantic gravity-based structures. Okay, this is a huge, massive level. So the large structure is typically made of steel reinforcement concrete, and needless to say, it's a fixed platform, as you can see that. Okay, so it can towed to a location and sunk, and the chasin has a tank or cells at the storage for drilling the fluids, and sometimes for the production too. And what are the famous, like Hibernia. Okay, Hibernia in Newfoundland is a gravity-based structure. Another, a huge massive level of the gravity-based structure named as Troll. The name reveals it's definitely from the North Sea. Okay, it's massive, as you can see the picture. Okay, and the water depth we use around like 300 meters. So if it's nearly like 300 meter, then we can use the gravity base. Okay, other than if it's too much, then we cannot. So as you can see, these these offshores, the water depth would not be that high. Okay. The next is the compilant tower. Okay, it's a type of like a fixed offshore installation. Now it's a tall, narrow steel jacket design. Like this is the compilant tower number 3. Okay, so this is the compilant tower. Now this is a fixed platform, of course, but you can also move it. There's a video I would actually show you later. Okay, so the compilant tower is a tall structure. Okay, and it's a narrow structure. It's usually anchored to the sleeve floor with steel wires or the tubes. Like the tubes, if the tube attached to the tubes, it go inside. Okay, it's taller than the steel jacket and located in a little bit more deeper water. For instance, the operating depth is like 623, like I mean nearly like I mean um, nearly like I mean 623 meter is the largest component tower in the world. Okay, so as you can see, it is kind of like twice. So as you can move on, like I mean, steel jacket, the depth was like for up to 150 meter. Um, Gravity based structure became twice. Okay, compilant tower is even twice than the gravity based structure. Okay, so that's how we're actually choosing what types of fixed installation we usually use in the water. So compilant tower is kind of like a little bit more deeper. If the water is more deeper, then we tend to use the compilant tower. Okay, and if it's go beyond than 620, like for instance a mile, okay, or things. So what types of platform we can use? We can use tension leg platform like that. So it is a type of like semi-submersible platform. It's permanently moored in a place with the heavy anchors or the piles. Okay, these are the pilings, and it moved with the heavy anchors. The vertical movement is controlled by blasting and the adjusting the moor line. Okay, so the it's not for exploration because it would be very expensive to build just only for the exploration. Usually, typically, we use it for the production platforms. Okay, usually the water for like I mean 500 to 1500 meter, we use that. The deepest currently used is the Olympus, is nearly like 950 meter, but you can actually design up to 1500 meter. Okay, so this is about like the tension leg platform. Now let's go to our next fixed offshore installation, which is the spar. Okay, so you can see like the Technip is a big oil and gas company, so they usually design these types of institutes. So you can see different types of like spar platforms, and also it depends on what types of depth and what are the types of installation we actually need to use. So spar actually works like a gravity. Okay, it totally is a gravity. For instance, you have something a very heavy thing there. So what will happen? It will float just like a heavy object actually pulling, and the buoyancy will work upward. So that's how this platform would be stabilized. Okay, so it's a large cylindrical object that located under the water to provide buoyancy. The helical strakes or moving baffles help to improve the stability. Okay, so these are the baffles, and that is for the stability. Okay, it's just work like a fin of a fish. Okay, the fish got the fin for what? For the stability purpose. Okay, for that. It is permanently moored to the sea floor. Okay, with a counterweight, and there are different types of spar as you can see in here. Okay, and typically it has been used for again production, and it can operate very deep water. Okay, remember that. So these are all about the fixed offshore platforms. Let's go to the mobile offshore platforms. So the number one is the FPSO. So if what is FPSO? It's the floating production, storage, and offloading. Now these are different types of FPSO we have. It can be the floating refinery. It may be shaped like a ship, but it's more the operation is more like a buoy of or a spar. Okay, the all the equipments equipped in the spar you would find in FPSO. The storage product offloaded to the tanker and sometimes to the pipeline too. So it's a kind of like a package. You can find everything in a single package. Everything means it can do the production, it can store and also offloading too. So all the things except for the exploration. We have a different types of ship for the exploration. Okay, Jackup. Remember I said Jackup, like it looks like a permanent, but it's not. Here you go. So these actually work in a very interesting way. These are mobile, but it got huge long towers. You take it somewhere, like the place you actually want to take it, and after that you can just lower down this structure, and then it can fix. And when your job is done, you just take it up, do it up, wrap it up, and go. So the Jackup is a type of rig that towed into position and then raises itself off the offshore using the long legs. Okay, so the type of rig was used in Sable Island near the Nova Scotia. Okay, and the largest type of Jackup is currently in operation is XLA2. It's built in Singapore. So semi-submersible. So floats and maintaining the position during the anchors or the dynamic positioning. I will actually go a little bit more detail later on how the semi-submersible work, but this is a mobile offshore installation, and it's really a gigantic ship, kind of like look like a gigantic ship actually. So it can be either towed or self-propelled, just like the ship actually moves on like the propulsion. Okay, it can operate till like 10,000 feet or 3 kilometers. Just imagine that. It if you have a very deep water operation, you can use that. So drill ship, look at that. So here's the difference between the FPSO and drill ship. Just look at the picture. So FPSO got mostly production and processing units, okay, but a drill ship got a drilling unit. Sorry, and here you see like a huge tower on the top. Okay, so that is for the drilling purpose. Okay, so drill ships, it operates the deepest drilling depth in the earth. It's 3.5 or 2.6 kilometer, which is huge, like it's massive level. So it's very mobile but less stable than the semi-submersible. It requires ships, the captain and crew, just like the ships, and it maintains position by using anchors or dynamic positioning. If it's deep water, we cannot use the anchor, we use the dynamic positioning. Okay, other offshore supports, other platforms. Um, we have equipment for the exploration. For instance, this is the type of the exploration types, and we have other platforms for the supplies, fuel, drilling fluids to bring up all the logistics. Okay, we have those logistics and ROV transportations also. Okay, so ROV is the remotely operated underwater vehicles we have, and different other types of offshore units depending on the type of um, um, work we need to do. Okay, there are tankers, which is for the transportation purpose. Okay, it could be the LNG liquefaction tanker, or it could be the crude tanker, or even the refined products. Okay, we have huge and massive tankers, and you'll find where the more we go, the deeper to the course, you'll find lots of case studies with the tankers we'll have. Okay, so it's a very important thing. We have some videos attached. Please watch this video. You have more understanding on the offshore rigs. I highly suggest to go to these videos and watch the videos. It's a very important one. And these are the references. If you are more interested, then please go to the reference, and you can learn a little bit more. So this is the first lecture of the offshore operation in the marine environment, and after that we'll go to the second one, and learn a little bit more about the offshore operations in the marine environment. Okay, have a good day everyone. Bye.